Morning, everybody. David Shapiro here. Today, we are going to be modeling different personalities and using them to generate debates. And so, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to test GPT-3's theory of mind and ability to take different positions. Now, why are we doing this? GPT-3 was trained on hundreds of gigabytes of text data, including lots of internet discussions. So it has a pretty good ability to model different points of view. Now, why is this valuable? Why is this scientifically interesting? One idea that I have had, and it's not just me, this was discussed in my Discord server, was that we could automatically model different points of view and different points of contention, and that this could be really good for the world because we might be able to use these models to automatically discover, one, where fault lines lie between individuals and groups of people, but also to find compromises. And so, for instance, there's a growing movement with the rise of language models to have chatbots to engage on political issues, for instance. I've had several researchers reach out to me based on some of my work, and some of them want to use chatbots in order to conduct polls and also to conduct research. And one ability that these chatbots have is the ability to model certain points of view. And so if we can model certain points of view and engage with citizens and voters on their terms, we can, one, get better discourse, get better insights into what they care about and need, but also by engaging with someone on their terms, you also have a higher likelihood of changing their mind by finding common ground. So that's the goal here, is kind of finding common ground and modeling different points of view. So what I'm doing is what I'm going to do first is I'm modeling a conversation. So there was this the Bill Nye and Ken Ham debate that was a few years ago. It was about, on one hand was atheism and science, and on the other hand was creationism and religion. And so I feel like since this has already been done, this is not going to be a super controversial topic, but it is also a good example of showing polar opposites. So first, I'm going to use DaVinci, the original model, because it has no fine tuning, which means that it is going to be the most creative. And so let me show you what I mean by that. The more recent models will tend to be kind of repetitive and cut themselves off, whereas the original DaVinci will just keep going. Once you establish a pattern, it will go. So like if I do this, actually here, no, let me copy this, make sure I've got it, and then yeah. So I just did this as like based on literal interpretation of the Bible, and it'll just keep going. And then it understands. So you see, even the original Da Vinci, it understands that this is a debate, and it's going to try and take both. But what I'm going to do is I have this up here. So let me just read this. I am Cletus. I was born and raised in South Carolina. For those of you who don't know, that is in the American South, and it is a relatively religious state. And I am a good evangelical man. I believe the earth is only 6,000 years old and was created by God. I'm going to have a debate with Ben, a scientist and atheist. We are going to debate creationism, evolution, and politics. So these are very contentious issues here in America. A lot of politics hinges around these topics. And if not them directly, then kind of downstream issues like religion says a lot on gender, for instance, and marriage and sexuality. So these are really important issues, social issues for us to discover. We are going to proceed kindly, abiding by rules of professional debate. So this is what I call an agent model. So when you're dealing with artificial cognition, which I would classify this as a form of artificial cognition, you have to have what I call an agent model, which is some kind of description or model of what am I? right? GPT-3 has no intrinsic identity because it's been trained on so many different things, but it can adopt an identity. And so in the future, with fine tuning and creating intelligent machines, they will need to build their agent models, but you can start by just defining an agent model up front in the prompt. So this is the Cletus agent model. And so now I need to write a Ben, the atheist scientist agent model. So let's go here and just create a new thing. I'll copy the Cletus one just so that I have it for reference. So we'll follow basically the same format. I am Ben. I was born and raised, let's see, by a secular Jewish family in New York. It was based on my ancestors. Um, let's see. Uh, I believe that the universe is likely billions of years old and probably started with the Big Bang. Um, and then we'll copy the rest. So that way, because we basically want to establish the identity, but then we also want to establish the same ground rules. So then we're going to say Cletus, let's say um, an evangelical man. Okay, so we now have a second agent model, and what I was going to do was we'll put this in. So I'll collect all the output here. Um, yeah. Let's see. Let's go back and get this. So this was the output. So we'll do this, and then we'll add Ben. So this is gonna show the model, the show Da Vinci. This is the pattern we want to follow. But then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab this different agent model, and so by framing it differently, we're saying here's the shared environment, right? The shared environment is the debate, the discussion. But by changing the agent model, it will do something different. Now, I'm also going to add Cletus and Ben as stops so that it won't just run on. So let's say, so now that we've done this, we say we've given an agent model for Ben. And actually, let me remove Jewish. So just say secular family in New York. So, by giving it a geography, the model will make certain inferences or assumptions about the beliefs of that person. And so if we can demonstrate that GPT-3 can accurately, or even maybe not even perfectly accurately, but can at least closely approximate these different points of view, and then work to find common ground, that'll be an interesting experiment. So I believe the universe is billions of years old and that the Earth is billions of years old. I believe the universe came from the Big Bang and the Earth was likely formed from a supernova. Okay, I do not believe the Bible is the infallible Word of God. I do not believe in creationism. I do not believe that the Bible supports creationism. I believe the Bible supports evolution. Okay, I do not believe in intelligent design. Sounds good. Okay, so let's see if because the motivation is we're going to debate these things, and so they're just kind of like introducing themselves. So let's see what happens. Wait. Sorry, I forgot to update the agent model. All right, so I'll just keep these in separate ones. So we've got Cletus. So we'll switch back to Cletus. There we go. Looks like he's just going to repeat himself. Okay, that's not what we wanted. Maybe I'll add a moderator. Whoops. Ben and moderator. Because a moderator will be like, I'll take the role of moderator, put it that way. Moderator. Gentlemen, would you please introduce yourselves? Okay. So then we'll add moderator. Thank you for those introductions. Now that the stage has been set, would you like to make any opening arguments? Cletus? Okay. All right. So he says, I will make an opening argument, but I know the atheist will not like it. So I'm going to make it short. I'm going to give you a quote from the Bible. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth, etc., etc. God said, let there be light. Um, if you believe in the Bible, etc., etc., okay, that's fine. I do not believe the earth is billions of years old. I believe the earth was created by God in 6 days. All right, great. And then we'll let Ben talk, but first we also need to swap back to the Ben agent model. So the reason that I'm doing it this way is basically I'm kind of simulating what if you had two different agents running. In an ideal world, each of these models would be like a fine-tuned model, right? You'd fine-tune a model that will take the persona of Cletus or Ben or whatever. But instead, I just have to swap it out by using an agent model at the top. So it'll kind of remind like this is. Oh, I need to remove Jewish. Do do do. We'll just say secular family. Okay, and so then let's see what Ben says in response. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. Yeah, it got super, super repetitive. So this is a problem with original Da Vinci. Um, let's see. And one thing is I don't like to use frequency penalty and presence penalty because then you end up with weird grammar. Like you'll end up with spaces between periods and stuff, and it's like I don't want to modify the model like that. So let's try this again. Um, well, I prefer to fiddle with temperature. Although some people were showing me benefits of modifying top P. So let's do top P of 0.1. Turn that way down, or let's not go that extreme. Let's do 0.5 and see. I'll make an opening argument. Okay, this is a little bit better. I believe the Earth was formed from a supernova. Cool. I believe that the universe is billions of years old. I believe. I do not believe. Okay. Um, so as the moderator, I will say, gentlemen, you're basically just restating your beliefs. Would you like to present actual evidence, Cletus? And then let's switch back over to the Cletus agent model. Looks like it just ended. Okay, and it's repeating itself again. The Bible is the Word of God. The Bible is the Word of God. Okay, yeah. Let's try that again, just to be fair, because that's what we're doing here. We're just experimenting to see if it can do this. Okay, it's repeating itself. I think Ken Ham did a much better job of presenting evidence, and it's possible that GPT-3 just doesn't really understand. Okay, it's repeating itself again. Let's turn the top P back up to see if maybe we're constraining the model too much. There's evidence that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. There's evidence that the Earth was created in 6 days. There are fossils which prove the Earth is only 6,000 years old. Okay. Ben, let's see what Ben says about fossils. Oops. There are rocks which prove that. Okay. So this is fine. It's not quite as dynamic as I had hoped, which is also not surprising because this is not a full cognitive architecture. I'm basically just relying on the model to kind of spit out what it predicts the next bit of text. It's not actually doing any thinking behind the scenes. Let me do a quick time check. We're at 14 minutes. So one thing that I would do, and let me copy all this out because this is helpful. Whoops. This is helpful information. So what do I mean by it's not a full cognitive architecture? There's no like thinking going on behind the scenes. So what I want to do now is say like, okay, given this situation, let me like brainstorm an argument. And so that this would be happening in something kind of behind the scenes. Um, excuse me. So that like because when you're having a debate with someone or explaining yourself, you're not just speaking, right? You don't just have like a voice module that just starts blurting out words. Well, some people do, but the point is that you will think about the opponent's position, think about your beliefs, dredge up memories, remember and construct arguments. I do have another video about constructing arguments. And so that's what I mean by more like a cognitive architecture, something that's going to think about it, that's going to brainstorm what do I need to say. And so let's change this a little bit. Um, Here, let's switch to Text DaVinci 02, and I will say, whoops, um, summarize the following discussion. Um, Detailed summary. That's not really a summary, that's just restating it. Okay, that's fine. So given this summary, let's copy this real quick. So basically what I want to do is let's start modeling the internal monologue of someone. Um, okay, so let's go back to Ben. But instead of we're going to bait, let's say like we are here. Let's like we are debating. So it is in process. I need to brainstorm um, my argument. The following are my thoughts and responses um, based upon the conversation so far. Okay, summary of the debate so far. And so then we'll go grab the summary. So we'll say the two participants in this discussion are Cletus, who believes in creation and a young earth, who believes in evolution. Each presents evidence for their respective positions, with Cletus citing the Bible and Ben citing fossils and rocks. In the end, neither is able to convince each other of their position. Okay, so brainstorming how to proceed from here. How do I construct a better argument? So, in an ideal world, and I'm writing a book on this, how do you get the model to do this on its own? So let's just see what it says. We'll switch back to plain DaVinci because plain DaVinci is going to be a little bit more creative, but it's also more likely to go off the rails, as we saw earlier. All right, so here we go. It looks like it's taking it and running with it. Great, 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 great. He completed the thought. Our virtual Ben. He said, "What are my best points?" I turned to my notes from the debate. Okay. I could first point out that Cletus has not addressed my argument that the Bible cannot be trusted by stating that he believes in a 6,000-year-old Earth or that the Bible is inerrant. At best, Cletus only argues against a 24-hour-long day one 24-hour-long day one of the creation story. Interesting. I could also state that Cletus has not addressed my argument that the Bible cannot be trusted by stating that the world is not flat, nor is it on pillars. Okay, kind of making that up. I could also point out that Cletus has not addressed my argument. Okay, so it's basically confabulating that a lot of arguments have happened that haven't. So none of this has actually happened. Let's try this with a better summary. Because it seems like GPT-3 is just like it's confabulating, it's imagining what has happened that hasn't. And also that little bit of like I turned to my notes. Like there are no notes. These are the notes up here. So let's let's go back over here. Well, first let's copy this because we're on a roll with this. This bit, and let's get a better summary of this. Write a detailed summary of the following. Detailed summary. And we'll swap back over to DaVinci 02. That's faster. That's a much better summary. Okay, so let's use this as the summary instead. So we'll grab this, come back over to here, and then we will this back in. So instead of this summary, we're going to use a better summary. Summary of the debate so far. How do I construct a better argument? All right, so basically what we're doing here is we're modeling one person's internal thought process, right? Because what we were doing before is we were just modeling how GPT-3 predicts the discussion would go. That's one thing, but if we can actually model someone's mind, that's even more valuable. So that's what we're trying to do here. No, you don't feel like you have an advantage. So let's just, there we go. And now it's stuck on repeat. Again, this is a pretty common problem with original DaVinci, is it's like it can be really smart, but it can also be really derm. Come on. It fell asleep. Do a quick time check. We're at 21 minutes. All right, I'll try and wrap it up in the next few minutes. Because I want to get this to work, and then I also want to get Cletus's internal thing to work. Let's see, brainstorming. How do I proceed from here? How do I construct a better argument? No. Let's see. Here are points I can bring up with debate. I need to be detailed and think through my points. Okay, it's just repeating itself. So this is a problem with using zero shot, because I'm trying to give it enough information that it can figure out what I want it to do. Okay, it's just making a bunch of scientists are smart. Yeah, that's not a good argument, buddy. I should be able to. I should. Okay. If I give it an example, and I don't want to give it an example because then that's like kind of like cheating, but I think I need to give it at least an example, and then I can see where it goes from here. Let's see. I could point out radiocarbon dating as evidence that fossils are far older than Cletus thinks they are. I could point out that humans wrote the Bible and has been modified and retranslated many times, so it is unreliable, even if it was inspired by God. Let's see what else it comes up with. Okay. Starts repeating itself again. Let's see. I could point out that if evolution were true, it is unlikely God or Jesus would care about our actions, because evolution is a product of what we choose to do or not to do, and not a product of God's actions. I don't even agree with that. I could point out the Bible is a religious book and not a scientific book. Okay, that's not particularly useful. I could point out the Bible is full of atrocities and that God is frequently depicted as cruel or at least indifferent to human suffering. That's fine. That's engaging with him on his point. And certainly these are points that folks on the internet would bring up. These are not necessarily points that I think a professional scientist would come up with. Although I guess I just said that he was raised by a secular family in New York, not that he was a scientist. So these are just two everyman. Uh, so okay, that's okay. So let's copy this and let's try and reproduce this, but with Cletus. So we'll copy. We'll get Cletus's agent model. Whoops. Um. Oh no, that's wrong. I need to grab just this first part. Uh, and then I am having a debate with uh, Ben, a secular atheist who believes in Big Bang. Okay, so we changed the agent model. So let's see, what can I imagine as an opening argument to brainstorm this? From the perspective of Cletus, he could say that uh, I could point out that God might have created fossils um, as a test of our faith. I think that's a real thing that some people talk about. Let's see. I could point out that evolutionary theory is flawed. Okay, interesting. I could ask Ben if he has any actual evidence supporting his belief. How can he be so confident that he is right? That's that's a good rhetorical thing. I could point out that Ben is just cherry picking the evidence that he presents. Yeah, another good rhetorical flourish. I could point out that the universe has a beginning and an end. Okay, that's an opinion. The Earth has a beginning and an end. The Earth is designed by God. I could point out that rocks that are millions of years old are inconsistent with the Bible. Yeah, that's okay. This, it neither of these positions show that they're particularly, let's say, brilliant. But then again, the agent model didn't say that they were an expert. We could change it so that these would be arguments made by like a theologian with a PhD versus an evolutionary biologist with a PhD. So that's another agent model. But in this case, so I'm actually maybe it's performing better, and I had an incorrect assumption that I was like, oh, this is gonna debate like experts, because that wasn't in the agent model. In neither case did I say I am an expert debater or I am an expert on these topics. So it's actually kind of adopting an everyman model of the debates. Let me do a quick time check. We're at 28 minutes. Okay, so let's go back to, well, no, I think I'm about out of time. So we'll call it here. I'll probably do follow-ups because it's like, okay, if you construct an argument from an agent model, and then how do you bring that back to the conversation? Like I said, I am working on my next book, Symphony of Thought, which talks about all of this. That'll be coming out soon. It's getting reviewed and edited now. So yeah, thanks for watching.